Morning, everybody. Beautiful morning here in South Carolina. On my way to church. Thought I'd drop you a quick message. Lindsey Graham died. He's one of our senators here in South Carolina. He's really a great man. A great man. Did a lot of good things. One of the strongest senators I've known throughout my life. But I was thinking about in third grade. That's when the whole separation of church and state thing started really taking foothold, and I don't know what had been going on. I was a young kid. I don't know, out in the general populace, how that got started or where it came from. But when our forefathers did it, it was to keep the government's hand out of church. They didn't want any more state controlled churches and church controlled states, and the Church of England and all that stuff that they were running away from. And so that's where that thing started. But it was never intended to keep God out of our culture. And so when they brought about the separation of church and state, prayer, of course, went away in schools. But I remember the science books. And the science books had two theories of where we came from. The first one was the creation theory, where there was a God or a divinity of some sort that created everything. Theory, couldn't be proven. And the second one was evolution, also a theory that couldn't be proven. So when everything started falling apart and they started pulling everything God out of public schools, they also redid the science books, and I remember this. And then there was only one. Creationism was taken out, and evolution, instead of being taught as a theory, began being taught as a scientific fact, that evolution is where we came from. That's when that started. I was there. I was part of that. I saw that. I experienced that. Now we have all these advances in science, and one of those things being DNA science. And guess what? DNA science has proven that evolution is completely false. It's not. It can't happen. The DNA code is locked code, and it has to be manipulated chemically or physically to change it. It is what it is. It's like a combination lock. And so now it's been disproven and still being taught as fact, which means that evolution is also a religion. It's something you believe in. And so that's where we are now. So throughout the course of my lifetime, secular humanism has pretty much gotten a stronghold here in America, and it's destroying everything. It's just destroying everything. As a young person, I remember our government used to go after anybody and anything that advocated for communism. It just was not going to it wasn't going to be allowed to come into this country. And now we've got an entire political party going off into the socialism circle. And why is that? How is that happening here in America on our watch? Well, it's easy. That's what happens when we take God out of anything, because God is in everything. So what do we do? I'm 61 years old. I'm reaching, the later years in my life, and I'm looking around and I'm wondering, what do we do? What do we do? How do we do something about this? And the problem is that we're in a culture now that basically is biblically illiterate. We all have our beliefs. When I share Jesus with people, it's so common for me to be talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ and what God has done and the scriptures and history, and people would just flat out say, well, I just don't believe like that. That's not what I believe. I don't believe in a heaven and a hell. I don't believe in God. I don't believe that God is like that. It's all this. I don't believe like that. The problem is that what we believe has no bearing on truth. It's either truth or it's not truth. And so our generation now, meaning all of us that are alive and sucking air on this planet, we need to be about the business of learning truth and discovering truth. I think statistically, people spend more time trying to decide what kind of underwear they're going to wear by the end of their life than they have truly wholeheartedly pursuing truth. Now, Jesus says, if you knock, it'll be open. If you seek, you'll find. And there's lots and lots of stories out there of famous people who went out to disprove God and ended up being converted in the process because the truth is overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The Bible says nature itself proves there's a God. So we've got to do something about the brainwashing. Now Trump did something great. He did away with the federal Department of Education. He's going to leave the education up to the states, which is the way it should have been all along. And so now we're going to be able to get rid of some of this dogmatic brainwashing that's been going on in our schools since I was in the third grade, and maybe get back to, teaching real American history and maybe some real science. Yeah. And maybe we need to start all looking for real news and stop supporting fake news, stop supporting ideologies that basically are subverting mankind. It's destroying us. The Bible says the end is going to come, and it's going to come quickly. And we can see the deterioration of our culture happening so fast. I heard something the other day that basically people get 70% of their political information off of this right here, this social media stuff. So what I'm trying to do with this is teach. And so let's just take a look at ourselves and see what we can do to do a better job of presenting God to a lost world. Love y'all. Bye.